Pleasure down here today, Jake. We had at Team Ellis Gym, obviously your gym. We had man to your left, Dwight Ritchie and Michael Zerafa put on an absolute show for those who saw. We obviously don't have the rounds, but what we can say, it was action-packed and very competitive stuff.
Yeah, mate. Like we said earlier, that you don't really come across very often that guys at that high level in a in this gym or any gym in Victoria, basically, that that's such a high quality spar. It's great to see, mate. I was more excited for this spar than most fights, to be honest with you, mate, and it lived up to every second, so awesome.
And for you, Dwight, I guess preparation, you couldn't get any better sparring this far out from your fight, and knowing that Michael's pretty much in a fight as big as yours, doesn't get any better, does it?
Yeah, no, it's exactly right, bros, and Mike, he's a bit taller than me, he's got a bit of reach on me, and he's got that nice, sharp outside work, and it's exactly what I need, and getting another hard 10 rounds in the bank leading up to this fight, this is beautiful, it's exactly what we need, so I'm really excited.
Where does it position you as far as your preparation? Is this like last spar, you got a couple more to come?
I've got another spar next week. I think Wes Kappa's coming over, so we're going to get some rounds with him, take advantage while we can, because there's probably a handful of guys in around my weight and stuff, that are at that top end. And if we're all working together, making each other better, it only makes for better fights for Aussies. It's gonna, when we make that crossover overseas and stuff like that, step on that big stage, we're prepared. And there's too many Aussies maybe a little bit underdone. And so if we can get this work now, we're just going to go with both hands. It's just terrific for my camp.
And for you, Jake, must be proud as punch. Obviously seeing Dwight get to this point in his career. You guys go way back to when you were, you were boxing in the amateurs, and obviously looked up to Dwight. And I think you guys would have had quite a few spars back in Keith Jr.'s gym back in the day. So
yeah, the weight was a little bit off, but yeah, mate, I'll be honest with you. I've been training with Dwight since I was 14. He was 15. He moved down to Werribee from Shep. Moved in with a few of his cousins, and he was at the gym every day. I was in most days, and yeah, mate, I've seen him develop, and obviously he turned pro a little bit prematurely. So by the time I started promoting at 18, he'd already had 4 or 5. But basically, it was from my first show, we brought him on. He won his Victorian title that night against Benny Costello, and every show from there since, we've always tried to get him on. We've had him on better part of half a dozen times. Won the majority of his titles with us. So mate, we've had a very, very close, tight-knit sort of relationship throughout his career, and better in now of 10 years. So yeah, mate, proud as punch to see him score such a big fight, pay-per-view fight. Tim Tszyu, it's a big one.
And I guess, for you as a promoter, it must be great to have the peace of mind knowing you've got a fighter like Dwight that you can just put in main event, he takes any fight, and puts on a great show for the crowd.
I know everyone's going to be thinking I'm just saying this for the camera, but hand on heart on my baby brother's life, I've never come across any person in boxing where when I call them, they literally just ask the date and weight. He won't ask how much money he's getting paid, he won't ask who he's fighting, and this has been for 10 years straight, from when he was 18-year-old till his last fight. And out of everyone I deal with, it's boxing's changed, from the 80s we went from there were a lot of fighters in boxing. Now it's all athletes, you know what I mean? It's a different sort of dynamic in the whole sport, whereas Dwight here, he's a real throwback to the old school generations of just anyone, anywhere, anytime, and that is hand on heart, mate. I've dealt with now, we've put on thousands of fights over 10 years, and I've never come across anyone even close as willing to take on any competitor as Dwight is here. So,
and for yourself, Dwight, having Jake to work alongside you and really sort of push your career forward. I'm sure he's done a lot of good work for you, and you've found Jake to be a real asset in building your career up to this point.
Yeah, 100%, bros. Like the Ellises and the Ritchies, they go back to the the 70s and stuff like that. Like my old man and Jake's old man, and for that to continue, like Jake said, we used to the weight difference was a bit much, but we used to do a lot of rounds at Keith's old gym, and just to. Everything that I do and everything that I love is about family, and to have that close-knit relationship that's carried on for so many years, that means a lot to me. And I know that when Jake and the boys have got a show on, I know that it's sweet. It could be my next fight, beautiful. I know I'm always in mind for their cards, and it's just good to know that I don't have to go hunting and stuff for fights. Because blokes around here, they know how tough it is to get fights. There's not. Like Jake said, there used to be a lot of fighters and stuff like that. Now there's athletes, and they want a bit more. They want a bit more say, I guess, in what they're doing, mate. I just want to fight, and I just love fighting, and so these boys accommodate me, and it's just the best.
And you got to remember, someone like Dwight, when I say old school, I mean, bloke didn't have Instagram until his last fight was announced. He's the type of bloke where, he's not, I mean, these days they only fight for Instagram, you know what I mean, mate?
We're still learning how to use the filters,
Makes it nice and tan. But yeah, mate, we're in a world now where, I mean, you probably heard the expression Facebook fighters or Instagram fight. Like, it's all just about the story they're telling as opposed to the real story of when they're looking in the mirror of what the fuck's really going on here, So I just think, it's to have someone like Dwight, mate, and see all his hard work basically pay off. It hasn't paid off just yet, but as in way of opportunities, it has paid off. And I know that despite the bookies having him 3-1, we've got the favourite in this fight for sure.
And might be a silly question, Jake, but I'm guessing you're tipping Dwight?
Oh yeah. Not only am I tipping Dwight, I'd strongly suggest if anyone wants to, keen on a wager, he's your man.
Juicy odds on Sportsbet. I think it's about 3-1 currently.
Yeah, 310, a little bit over, but
if you want to increase your net worth, just
and it would be the first time that we saw that. It is a 2-horse race, but in saying that, I think Dwight's of a whole different level. Dwight's been boxing guys like Wade Ryan, which was Tim Tszyu's, one of his recent fights. He's been fighting that level for 10 years. Yeah. And usually when you say something like that, you're talking about a 40-year-old man. We've been here, but he's in his mid-20s, fresh, and with all that experience behind him too, I just think Tim's just bitten off a little bit more than he can chew.
Well, thanks for joining us, fellas. Dwight, great having you down here today, and 10 rounds of action with Michael Zerafa. Fantastic for everyone in attendance to watch, and for you, Jake, must be a privilege to see these boys, battle it out in your gym.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Thanks for coming down, bro.
Thanks for having us, mate.
No worries, Dwight. All the best, mate.